Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is talk about a company that is behind, sort of like, almost like a kingmaker, behind a lot of success that other watch companies have. And this is a company named Agenhor. And I've talked about it before, but I want to talk about it again because I recognize some things about it I think that were very important. Now, I first came to know about Agenhor a number of years ago when I bought this watch. This is it's a Harry Winston Premier by Retrograde. And I forgot at the time why I wanted it exactly. I liked the idea of a retrograde buy or any other kind. And this one was sort of cool. It had the days of the week on one side, and then it had the seconds on the other side. It is in a little 30-second hemisphere. So it was, this turned out, I just liked it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to find out about it. And I got in touch with a guy who worked for Gerard Perregaux, and he looked up all of the things, and Gerard Perregaux had done the basic movement for it, and so I was trying to find out about the bi retrograde, and so I forgot how I found out about it, but I did somehow, and so I thought, well, I'll contact Agenhor and ask them about it. They were very nice, and they sent me this picture of the module they put in. It's called the AGH 2351, and it's the one with the retrograde. You can see on both sides it has a little spring. So this was my introduction to it, and I still have this watch. It's an enjoyable watch. It was very much of a before Swatch bought the company. Now, this in 2020, just this last year, the Grand Prix, here was this watch, this wonderful watch by H. Moser at Compagnie, called the Streamliner Flyback Chronograph. And I found out about it, and the movement was what I guess you could call a modified Agenhor. And it was seriously modified with the folks at H. Moser. After Moser won, the CEO, Edward Malin, said, this is also a great reward for independent watchmaking, with which I would like to thank the Visionnaire family and Agenhor at the origin of the Streamliner's exceptional chronograph movement. Well, this was, they don't get a lot of credit where they should. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. You have these people, they won these awards and everything. And oh, by the way, the crucial part was made by, kudos to H. Moser for recognizing all of the wonderful things that helped them win this award. Of course, I like H. Moser too. Now, this next one, this was another one. This was from 2020, again, last year's Grand Prix Awards, and this one won the Innovation Award, and it's by Parmigiani. Now, Parmigiani has done other things with Agenhor, and this was just one module, and for Parmigiani in making this Hijri Perpetual calendar, and it's an Arabic calendar, and how it works and so forth, I have no idea. But in order for them to get it done, it was just a little bit like sort of this that Agenhor did. So they have both really big things like the entire movement, or most of it, plus little things that they needed somebody really smart to figure out. Now, this is what we're talking about for the most part is Jean-Marc Visionnaire, who's the founder of Agenhor and an excellent super master watchmaker. In fact, in 2007, he won the first Watchmaker of the Year award. Okay, this next one is another one by the Agenhor. Now, this was in 2018, and they won the Chronometer Award, and it's called Singer, it's the name of the company, a Singer Reimagined Singer Track 1 Hong Kong edition. Now, this movement, the as a chronograph movement, and it's a hand-wound chronograph, and there's lots of stuff to like about it, and innovations. It's not like any other chronograph, and it's not sort of a tag on to it, but it's a totally integrated watch with a chronograph and a different way of reading it. The name of the movement is AGH 6361.S1. There are other variations on it too. Now this next one is a Parmigiani Toric Hémisphères Retrograde. I think it was around 2010. Parmigiani made this wonderful watch, which was called the Tonda Hémisphères. Now there's no retrograde. Right here, there's the date window, and it's just a little disc with the date numbers on it. And then you have one time up here, and then another down here, and then it has dual day-night features to it. But it can get a little crowded, but it's a wonderful travel watch. I take it every time I go traveling with it. And so they wanted to come out with something different. And they thought, well, you know what we could do, instead of having this date window, we could sort of decrowd it, I guess, and bring it in somewhat. And then we'll just have a retrograde hand date, and then we'll have the dual times and also the dual day-night indicators. And so they did that, and the movement is called the PF317, and it really is a remarkable movement in its own right. Here you can independently have the times, and then you can use one just to set it to whatever you want. So you can have offsets for countries like India that have a half-hour offset relative to the GMT. Okay, so this is another one that won. Now, in looking at a lot of this material, I didn't see anything about Agenhor, but they did the module for it, and this one is a 3502. By the way, the other one by Parmigiani we just looked at, the calendar with the Arabic calendar on it. That one, the other day I was in one of those live Zoom discussions, and the guy at Parmigiani was showing all of his new stuff. And when I asked him about that, I said, didn't Parmigiani have work with Agenhor to put in part of that? And the guy acted like, that's sort of we don't, they did that. But it was like, rather than, it's sort of like writing an article with Einstein. Oh yeah, Einstein helped, something like that. But a lot of watch companies don't make it very, I don't know what. I guess they feel like, well, it's got to be totally in-house. And I think that's sort of the wrong attitude for this. Okay, this next one is, and by the way, except for mine, all of these are award-winning watches. Now, this next one is called the Fabergé Visionnaire Dual Time Zone, DTZ. And the interesting thing about this is that here you have a self-winding watch, which is basically a automatic watch. But if you look at the movement from the back, there's no big rotor in the way or anything like that. But underneath all of the grill work, so to speak, there is a rotor. This one won the travel time prize. Now, this one is one I like a lot, and it's interesting. Again, one of many that Agenhor didn't get a great deal of credit for. They may have at the time. Some guy after he won the award said, "Hey, thanks, man," but there wasn't anything that I read about it. This is Slim de Hermes Quantieme Perpetual. This is Perpetual calendar. Now the movement in it is a Hermes caliber 1950, H1950, which is based on the Vaucher VMF 5401. And they always have the, in the Vaucher movements, if you look at them, they'll have these little things, like this one says HMS6H. Well, what that means is has hours, minutes, and then a small seconds at 6 o'clock. So, all right, so you have that in there, but look what this thing does. I mean, you have dual time, moon phase, you know, so you can set it up for different times and have that. So it's really, I mean, they've totally redone it to a great extent. So it does what, and then of course it won an award, the calendar prize. Now, this next one is the last one I'm going to talk about, and here is another sort of thing that is as an approach. It's Van Cleef and Arpels. I think this watch, the one over on the left side there, was designed in 1949 by Pierre Arpels. They have a Piaget movement in it, and they had it for years. Pretty much that design they have, pretty simple design, but elegant. And this is their whole thing, is that they wanted a slim watch, and they wanted one that was, you know, elegant, I guess is the term they like to use. And this is from Van Cleef and Arpels. So they said, well, you know, with traveling businessmen and so forth, they needed dual time. And so they went to Agenhor and asked about it. And Jean-Marc Viderec looked at it, and he said, you know, how are you going to do that? And he said, and they wanted it an automatic. And so he said, well, it'd be very hard, if not impossible, to stack this on top of a Piaget. And so he said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to just redo the whole thing and end up with a very slim watch, because that was important to him, that also had an automatic. And so inside there, I don't know if you can see it, on the lower right there, you can see a little blue. It's part of a like a little mazy kind of thing that they have in there for a lattice, like a blue lattice, and that's a platinum rotor, a mini rotor, micro rotor. And so by doing that, now there's some other things that happen when you do that. You have to have your balance a little smaller, and you have to do this and do that, and it's anyway, that's what they did. And in order to have dual time, they used he came up with a very ingenious solution, and I think that's what I like the most about Agenhor and their whole attitude toward watchmaking, is that they, on the one hand, they're very much attuned to traditional watchmaking in terms of the value of how to do it, and yet at the same time very innovative. And that's what I like. In other words, I hate to use the term thinking outside the box, because it's more than that. It's just sort of an attitude looking at a problem with a mechanical watch and come up with really interesting solutions. Now, there's a whole other group of watches, women's watches, that won tons of awards that Agenhor had worked with. And it's sort of one of those things that here's all of this sort of like a Kingmaker, is that they have all of these watches. This was their standard one. They brought in Agenhor, boom, and they won an award. And this is a nice watch too. Anyway, let me know what you think, and this is an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Till next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.